Okay, let's go.
Today, we're going to talk about a guy who is an absolute legend in Japan, a man they call the god of trading. And trust me, his story isn't just inspiring, it's a total masterclass in strategy, psychology, and just pure nerve. So let's get into it. Okay, let's start with a number that'll really make you sit up. He personally made a fortune of over $153 million. And you know what? The real number is probably way higher. But the thing that's truly mind-blowing isn't just the final number. It's where he started from. Yep, you heard that right. He kicked this whole thing off with about $3,600, an amount most people would think is nothing, and he spun that into a 9-figure empire. This isn't one of those hedge fund stories, okay? This is the story of one guy in a small apartment with a laser-like focus. And what makes the whole thing even crazier is that he's famously private and just unbelievably humble. I mean, when the founder of SoftBank, Masayoshi Son, personally asked him to manage a massive fund, he turned him down flat with this simple line. That's kind of like turning down a personal job offer from someone like Mukesh Ambani. So who is this guy? All right, so let's pull back the curtain and really introduce the man behind the myth. So his name is Takashi Kotegawa, but if you were online, you'd know him by his handle, BNF. People also call him the JCOM man, which is a whole other legendary story for another time. But what's really important to get here is that he's a private retail trader. He's not playing with other people's money. This is all him. And that story about him turning down SoftBank, that's what really cemented his status as this true lone wolf, a guy who was just going to do things his own way. So where did a journey like this even begin? Well, it wasn't in some fancy high finance office, that's for sure. It was somewhere way more ordinary. Picture this, it's before the year 2000, and Kotegawa is just working small jobs, in restaurants and stuff in Osaka. But while he's doing that, he develops what he himself called an addiction. But not to drugs or gambling, he was addicted to watching stock charts. Every single free moment he had, he was just glued to the screen, studying what's called price action, basically just watching the raw up and down movement of a stock's price. And then, the thing that really lit the fire was a documentary he saw about a famous American trader named Victor Niederhofer. He was so inspired, he actually created his trading name, BNF, as a tribute. He took the B from the way you'd pronounce Victor in Japanese, and the N and F from Niederhofer. And right then, his obsession turned into a full-blown mission. Now, this is where things get really interesting. See, to understand his genius, you have to get the environment that created him. The market he learned to trade in was the total opposite of what most of us are used to, and it shaped his entire way of thinking. Think about it. Most of us, we've grown up with markets that, sure, they have bad years, but over the long run, they generally go up. But in Japan, from 1990 to 2000, the market only went one way, down, for 10 straight years. This taught Kotegawa a completely different lesson than buy and hold. It taught him how to make a living when everything is falling apart, how to profit from these little bounces in a giant sea of red. So, to do this, he needed a tool, and his main weapon of choice was a super simple technical indicator, the moving average. He zeroed in on the 25-day moving average. In a market that's always falling, a tool like this is perfect for spotting those moments when the selling gets way too extreme, signaling that a little bounce might be coming. So how did he use this simple tool to make millions? Well, his strategy was just beautiful in its simplicity. Step 1, he'd look for the wounded. He'd find stocks that had been absolutely crushed, specifically ones that had dropped about 20% below that 25-day moving average. Step 2, he'd buy the fear. He would jump in, betting that the stock was way oversold and was due for a quick, snap-back bounce. And then, step 3, take the money and run. He wasn't greedy. The second he got that bounce, he was out. Then, he just rinse and repeat. And the results? Well, they pretty much speak for themselves. He starts with around $3,000 in 2000. In just 2 years, he smashes through the $1 million mark. By 2004, that had exploded to $16 million. And remember, he's doing all this while the rest of the market is basically in the gutter. He had found a formula that just worked. But then, the biggest test of his life came knocking. So for 8 years, his strategy was like a money-printing machine. But the 2008 global financial crisis, that was a completely different animal, a monster that was about to break all the rules. See, the whole foundation of a strategy was that stocks bounce back after they fall hard. But in 2008,
They didn't. They just fell, and then they kept falling. Every single time he tried to buy the dip just got deeper and deeper. All of a sudden, his magic formula was completely, catastrophically broken.
He even tried his luck over in the US markets. He saw a huge bank, Lehman Brothers, drop by 70% and thought, what a bargain. He threw $6.5 million at it. And then the bank went bankrupt. The entire investment, gone, wiped out to zero.
So he retreated back to his home turf, the Japanese market. He thought he saw a bounce starting to form in October, and he jumped in with both feet. But it was a trap. The market just plunged another 42%. The losses were piling up so fast it was terrifying. The very system that had made him a multimillionaire was now just destroying his fortune. So I want you to just imagine this for a second. 8 years of incredible success, completely wiped out in a matter of months. The one strategy you trusted is totally useless. You are bleeding money like crazy. The logical thing to do is sell, right? Cut your losses, save what's left. But that's not what a legend does.
Facing total ruin, he didn't run and hide. No, he decided to make the single biggest, most mind-boggling bet of his entire life.
On October 27, 2008, while the market was in an absolute free fall, he took every last penny he had left, $64 million, and he went all in. But this wasn't just some wild gamble. He saw the complete and utter panic in the market, what traders call capitulation, as a once-in-a-generation signal. It was do or die based on a deep, deep read of market psychology.
Now, what's so cool about this slide is what happened the very next day. The market opens, and it falls even more. Can you imagine? His heart must have been pounding out of his chest. But in Japan, the stock market takes a lunch break. And after that break, something incredible happened. The market didn't just bounce back, it exploded upwards, closing the day up a massive 7%.
And his profit from that one single day? $12 million. In the absolute pit of the worst financial crisis in modern history, when everyone else was selling in a panic, his insane conviction paid off in a way that is just legendary. He didn't just survive 2008, he totally conquered it.
So what on earth can we learn from this absolutely wild story of risk, ruin, and reward? Let's try to boil it all down to a few key lessons. First off, discipline. Even when his strategy was failing miserably, he didn't just freak out, he analyzed. He stayed in the fight. Second, you have to evolve. That 2008 bet wasn't just a blind gamble. It was him realizing the rules of the game had changed, and he changed with them. Third, conviction. At the end of the day, trading is a mental game. He had the guts to go all in when everyone else was sprinting for the exits. And finally, diversification. After he conquered the market, he learned the wisdom of not keeping all his eggs in one basket. He moved a ton of his wealth into things like real estate and even crypto. And that really brings us to the final big idea here. Takashi Kotegawa became a legend because he actually listened to what the market was telling him. He learned the harsh lessons that only a brutal bear market could teach, and it made him sharp, fast, and opportunistic. So the question I want to leave you with is this. When you look at the world today, what unique lesson is the market trying to teach you?